to Serial Podcast 9.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Kevin Peterson.
And I'm Gerard de
And I'm Ryan Benoit, and this is Serial Podcast 9. All right, what are we talking about tonight?
Okay, so a listener had a question or a suggestion. He said,
I feel like you should say the name of the person.
Wyatt Colonel, who I think is Wyatt Kerner, actually, or whatever. Could you pick one fad or / thing to come from the 90s / early 2000s car scene? What would it be? I guess that means like cool stuff from like the late 90s, early 2000s that we think is cool and that we would put at the top of our list. There are so many.
He also followed up. He said, or you could straight up say things that you never want to see come back. So
that's a good one.
Before we do this, disclaimer, Kevin is having a hell of a time with allergies this week. So just keep that in mind. All right. So the question was, in a nutshell, what car trends would we bring from the past and what would we keep in the past? Like for import car culture. What era? We have to kind of figure that out. So it said 90s and early 2000s.
I still live in that fucking era, man. Like my car is like I don't think anything past 2004 is like
Yeah, I when I started really thinking about this question, it was like, what fads would you bring? I was like, I feel like the fads that worked, we just held on to, if it was good,
totally.
It's still around. And if it was, now there are exceptions, kind of, but not really. Like underglow has peaks and valleys.
Let's start with like the kind of cheesy sort of like low level mods.
Yeah,
that we would leave
fully.
Yeah,
okay,
and then we'll go to
because honestly, that's all I got.
So I had I worked at Teamwork Autosports in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and one of the fucking things that we installed the living shit out of every day were EL gauges. Electroluminescent gauges. So we'd get them from China or whatever, and Civics all day long. And I'm so glad they're gone, except for when obviously I bought an Aristo and it has EL gauges, and I was just like, no. That's why I hate them so much. So EL gauges can.
I got another one. Painted dashes. Where they paint all the interior plastics white or something.
Anything you could pop out.
Pause.
I fully pulled out interior pieces, primered them, and painted them to like color match to my car.
Yeah.
My first car, for sure. It was an easy mod. And then you put like Razzo pedal kit in your car and a Razzo like shift knob. And then you just like, you're living the Fast and the Furious dream. Like
That
you could
shit
be in a
gone.
magazine.
I was going to say, when I had my first car, I was like low-hanging fruit because I took all the interior out. And then some guy who I knew saw that I had taken all the interior out and he had painted his interior white and was like, hey, can I just give you my interior and you can give me yours? And I was like, well, yeah, man, like I don't even care about it. I don't even have it, right?
Yeah.
So then like he gave me all this shitty like white plastic center console and shit, and I gave him my like fresh mint OEM ones. And then later I was like, man, I want to put this stuff back in, and I had to like paint it again, like, yeah, exactly. I got hosed.
What about putting like wire looming, like colored wire looming on everything so that your engine bay was like color matched?
Yeah.
That shit was whack.
And like colored silicone vacuum hose.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. We used to sell so much of that stuff.
It's called engine dress up.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it for the car shows.
To this day, that I feel like that stays a bit. People really care about engine dress up a bit.
Yeah, I
get
feel like
purple silicone hoses and purple silicone couplers for your intercooler.
Yeah, but I feel like that's still more a little bit on the function side. It's like if you're putting in an aftermarket intercooler, why not choose a color to go with it? I guess, or no, I don't know. Maybe it's
gonna come with its own, but then if you're gonna have those colored ones, you're probably buying them on top.
I got one that could get fucked. Springs.
Ooh, like that is
lowering springs.
I did lowering springs.
Yeah.
Yo, you got the H&R Sport or H&R Race?
You got the iBox?
I had iBox.
Dude, we used to sell H&R Race all day long. Like it was like 99, 2000. Like It was $300 installed for like a Civic or Integra. We'd do it like, we'd do it in like fucking 45 minutes or something, me and Paulo. It was like H&R Sport was like the normal people, and then you'd get like the dudes be like, yo, I want the H&R Race. And like and we'd have to cut the bump stops and shit because it would be so low and have no travel. So we'd have to cut the bump stops in half. And like, we did the best we could, but it was like the straight garbage, man.
Do you think though, so all these shitty things, did they happen? It was almost like out of necessity because it was low hanging fruit. Like there wasn't a lot of options back in the day when you were building a car. Like it was such a new industry for us that it was almost do whatever you could to make your car different.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I mean, like I said, we would sell 5 Ziegen Fireball. That was an exhaust that we sold all day long. And then
was it even an exhaust or was it just the muffler?
It was a back half. It was a bolt-on back half.
Yeah, like axle
and
back
then axle back, yeah. And then we would get the midsection actually from Zola, from another Chinese supplier. Wow. So we'd put together these cat delete with a mid pipe and a 5 Ziegen Fireball or a 5 Ziegen Border 304, which was like the fucking gnarly one. That was like the best one.
Yeah.
Border 304.
I ran a Brulin exhaust on my Mazda, like a muffler.
Oh, wow.
And like I didn't know it at the time, but the timing was slightly off on my Mazda, and it was the loudest fucking car. It was like that small V6, but it was super loud. And like obviously teenager me was just like, oh, it sets off car alarms. My car is fucking badass. Oh,
compressing the exhaust right out the valve.
Yeah.
I had a Genie muffler on my Civic, which was like some weird thing from like England or something, because I just wanted to be different. I didn't want to have the same thing.
Imagine that. You wanted to be different.
And then I was like, yo, like, fuck that Genie thing. So when I had my A86, which was probably year 2000, I had a Vision aluminum muffler. Like it was from Vision Japan. Wow. And it was aluminum. So it was like this crazy, I don't know, like motorcycle muffler basically. And it was like super light, but super loud. But also coilover sleeves. Fuck those things. Remember those?
Yeah. We've literally described like my brother's second Honda pretty like bang on. It's funny though, because when I got into when I got my S chassis, it was just mind blowing to me that the market that was actually available to that car to be able to go to like,
oh yeah, man,
okay, like coilovers by everyone, and like
Japan was so far ahead, and then you bought an S chassis, and you're like, oh, all these parts exist in Japan.
Yeah.
I remember the first S chassis we built. It was like actually like even today would probably be still a nice car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I went like nuts. I was like, oh, I can get like Gretty turbo elbows and like apexy parts and like because that shit didn't exist for my Mazda, and I didn't have like the money at the time to do that. Like when I had my Mazda, I tried to buy an intake for it, and the only one that remotely made anything that was apparently meant to work was the Weapon R.
Yeah,
and
Weapon R.
It never came. I had to order it from this local speed shop, and I think it was like had some dumb name like Auto Addictions or something.
Yeah, they
like
always
that.
had stupid names, man.
Yeah,
always.
Regina had a speed shop called Hucal, and it was like Hucal, but it was for J bodies like Cavaliers and Sunfires. And it was started because the two guys that liked it, apparently one guy loved Hugo Boss cologne and the other guy loved Calvin Klein cologne.
Oh my God.
That's sick. One thing I was going to say that Gerard probably won't agree with me is like, I kind of hate all of that, like that whole car stereo portion.
Nice.
Yeah, I hate it.
In-car entertainment.
I hate it. Like, you know what I mean? You don't need to take up the entire trunk with 2 12s and a fiberglass enclosure and like a waterfall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like any of that shit. I like a good sounding stereo, but I definitely don't want it to like impede on my car. I don't need a wall of fucking 15s.
Man, but back in the day, to have like a fiberglass enclosure was it was the bee's knees, I feel like. If you had
we all had.
I never had that. I like owned a sub that I never put in my car because I wanted to be like Gerard, I guess, but ended up being like Kevin. Do you feel that like over the top car stereos, and I don't know, is that still a thing? Like dudes just like, can I make my car be
honestly,
like... yeah, for sure.
I don't really think it is that much of a thing anymore. And one thing I also will say is like a lot of the cheesy mods the car companies just do now.
Yeah.
Like I remember like when a huge thing was like you could have like a 16-bit graphic going across your Alpine deck, and it would be like a F1 car that they programmed in, or like a horse running, and you could make it run in blue or cayenne or orange or red or
Cyan is
yellow or
blue. Yeah. Anyway,
Kevin
it'd
has
be like a darker
problems
blue.
with color. He means champagne.
I made champagne. You're all dead to me.
beige.
But yeah, you know what I mean, like that. Or people would put the like those little like underglow piping strips under the dash,
Oh,
so they would
man.
light up your footwell and stuff.
That shit's still popular, bro.
You could just get that from
Yeah,
cars.
yeah,
Cars
yeah,
just
the
do that now.
Mercedes has
That's
that.
what I'm
in-
saying. It's
Yeah.
like all of that shit that like people used to like do those cheesy mods. Cars just come with now. Like,
My dad always used to go to, whenever he bought a car, would go to Canadian Tire and get those like little lights and put them under the dash. And they weren't even the tube lights at that part. And they'd wire in a switch. And I think they were just called like sex lights. I don't know what people call them. Like, that
Hey,
must have
Dad, what
been
are
the
those
joke.
lights for?
how many siblings you
Sex.
got?
I have one sibling. I'm the youngest.
Brings a new car home to your, shows your mom, hey, baby. Like,
All right.
click.
I think, but then my brother, when he got his car, was like, I got to put these lights in. And then it was matched always to the color of the car. So it was like, if you had a red car, you put red lights. If you had anyway. But yeah, like LED stuff came later. At that
Mhm.
point, there wasn't even the LED stuff that you could do. But you are right. And Kevin, I had a CD like player
Oh,
that you could input the image you wanted on there. So it had like
Oh.
an image of my car in like 16-bit.
Jesus. I got one for you guys that I don't know. It might be like a regional thing local to me here in Surrey. Chrome fender trim and chrome rocker panels on
Yeah.
Mustangs. 5 liters,
Oh,
chrome fender trim.
Dude, on
Chrome rock
everything,
panel.
like V6.
I swear they
V6
had them on
Accords.
trucks and stuff. Yeah, man, they had chrome.
No, yeah, I think that started on like old like Chevy trucks and stuff.
It was really popular on Mustangs where I'm from.
Cavaliers and Sunfires did that in Saskatchewan. That was
Yeah,
like,
Yeah, I
chrome
feel like
fender
that's like
trim.
like that
J
is
bodies.
like the first level mod, like Canadian Tire, like basically Pep
Yeah.
Boys level modding.
oh,
You're gonna
man.
get like Tarzan floor mats.
GTS headlight covers and
Yeah.
taillight covers.
You could get maybe like vent visor smoked window guards, so you could roll down the window a bit.
Yeah.
Gotta have vent
these-
visors.
Those
They're
are
still a big deal.
honestly, those are the best. That is the best mod that ever existed. Fully.
I
Except for
took
big
them
turbo.
off my Aristo, and then I took them
cars-
off,
What?
and then I'm like, I gotta put these back on. I had to order
you
a pair.
yeah, you do. They
Dude, I
literally-
sold them for $250.
Mine were just like rattled. Like they weren't in great shape.
never gotten a car from Japan that didn't have them.
You get those crazy monsoon ones on the truck. Those are pretty crazy.
Yeah, man, I've always wanted those. They're so stupid.
It is funny though, because I think early on, like we said, so it was anything to set your car apart. Like I do remember going to Canadian Tire and they had like the locked cage of all like the performance stuff that you couldn't like, can't steal this from us.
So are we
Yeah.
in agreement that all the mods we've discussed can get fucked?
Well,
Like,
we
it
like
just
vent
go away.
visors. Like, yeah, like
Okay.
I
But I mean,
think-
that's not like a cheesy mod. That's like a functional. That's like having
Yeah.
like WeatherTech floor mats or something.
yeah, I guess it's pretty
Okay.
functional.
That's definitely
No,
not
I-
a 1990s product right there.
We don't want interior lights though that are like cool.
No, I
looking
like
colors.
interior lights.
Yeah. I haven't done it, but
mean-
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at interior lights and like cool, fun colors. I don't like
Yeah.
when the car comes with it and they try to sell it as a feature. And you can change
What about the
stuff.
like RGB like LED strips running along like the headliner?
Buddy, I had tassels and dingle balls and shit in my Volvo in like the early 90s for sure.
I didn't have any of that.
I'm definitely more down with the like dingle balls.
The dingle balls were popular at the time, so I had tassels. My whole
yeah.
and then my friend's dad used to call my car, oh, that Mexican jumping car. I'm like, yeah, okay, bro. Like it was like a Volvo on chop springs.
Yeah.
Did you do that because you wanted to be different, Gerard?
Yeah.
why
everyone had
do you think
dingle
I drove a
balls, so
Volvo
he had
GT?
tassels. Yeah, exactly. Everybody had a Corolla, so I had a Volvo.
Yeah.
They should bring back the Border 304 muffler. That's for sure.
They
Though.
should.
That is the
Yeah.
sickest muffler.
Okay.
Like so loud.
What about the Trust DD?
I don't know. It was just like, was that the twin?
That was the twin,
Yeah,
the
that was
twin
cool.
tip one for the Corolla. That was also like insanely loud.
Yeah, that one was cool for sure.
Okay,
Uh,
so we can kind of agree that like entry level 90s shit should and like that should just stay like because
Yeah.
I feel like there was the pinnacle and maybe there's a different pinnacle for everyone
Mhm.
now that I think of it, But for me, when I was high school / early 20s, I was into cars. Fast and the Furious came out. Everyone kind of
When did Fast and the Furious even come out, man? It was like later.
2001.
I think it was 2001
Yeah,
2001.
or maybe 2000.
That is fun fact. I didn't know that Point Break is pretty much just Fast and the Furious. Like
Point
Fast and the
Break's
Furious.
dope.
It's just it's Fast and the Furious is just a ripoff of Point Break. Learned that from Josh Whitehead.
So one of the best movies ever.
It's just Fast and the Furious. For
Which
surfing.
is one of the best movies ever.
You do love all of them. 2001, the Fast and the Furious came out.
Okay.
And in an earlier episode, I said they were stealing DVD players, and then Rare Spec Alex got mad at me, and he's like, "Get your facts straight. They were stealing VCRs." I was like, "Whoa, shit, man." And then I remembered I had to get my parents to buy a DVD player because the first DVD I bought was Fast and the Furious.
Was it option? Oh, okay.
It didn't even come out. You had to wait for it on VHS, and I wanted to watch it so bad. But I was into cars before
see it
Fast.
in theater?
I did see it in theater.
Oh,
I
okay.
did.
You want to watch it again so bad?
Yeah. And then I went to film school and thought maybe I could
Mark
make Fast
Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg. That movie came out, and then everyone kind of had a better understanding of what I was into. And then every teenager or early 20s just wanted to customize whatever they had. And a lot of them had Cavaliers and Sunfires, and in Regina, Saskatchewan, there was a whole thing of like J bodies, just dudes building those cars. And one of the guys I went to high school with must have spent like $10K or more on a full paint job, this full like aero kit.
Jesus.
Yeah, all that shit. But you have to think that's the height of like, like Nopi was around. How many different
tribal graphics, massive wing?
Yeah.
But that shit's all still here. Like it's even worse now. Tribal graphics, get out of here.
But I think it was like a much more simple. Like I'm at, now it's like a super complex, like 40-layer tribal graphic vector art, where before it was like a one clip art. Like you would get a tattoo of that tribal graphic.
Yeah, they got that from like Tattoos R Us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like barbed wire.
They like went because they went on the wall and like were like, I want that on my car.
Yeah.
Barbed wire.
Make sure the car's orange and the graphic is blue.
White. Yeah.
But there was a bunch of new people coming into cars, and I don't think that they like understood car culture. And like a good example of this is, I don't know if you guys had this here in BC, but how many people would put like body kits on their car and then just never paint them? Did you
That's
have
Seattle,
that?
bro.
Yeah. But then I would talk to people and they'd be like, well, they're not painted in the magazines. And I was like,
are you fucking kidding?
Yeah, because they didn't get that it was like to demonstrate what the body kit looked like. So it was like,
oh wow.
But I mean, even like what company is advertising an unpainted body kit?
What was that like?
Dude,
Andy's
Autosport.
Yeah, like you can't. Yeah, like what are you doing?
I wonder what Andy's doing right now. We should have him on a podcast. He's probably free.
Andy's Autosport, man. For us in Canada, it was Supra GT. Supra GT had like this massive catalog. It was like this company. So it was Supra GT and this other company in like Toronto. They compiled this massive catalog of literally every fucking product on the planet, like body kits from Japan, like all those wheels, like all the wheels we're talking about, like the Crimson wheels. So there was like Racing Heart, Seneca, Linea Special, like all those weird wheels. And then they had literally every body kit for Civic, like hundreds of styles, every body kits for like FDs, S chassis. Like it was just so weird. I don't know, like if they had the stuff or just basically they probably were like, yo, we can get anything.
We can.
But they actually, the craziest part is recently, like, I don't know, maybe less than 2 years ago, I went to Super GT, which is now, now it's like this tiny little hole in the wall place on like fucking Kingsway. And the dude still has a warehouse full of like crazy old wheels, like some really nice shit. Like you could probably go in there and like snag some like old Benz, like AMG wheels, or like, I don't know, like some what are those Alpinas for BMWs and stuff. Like he has like brand new inbox, like from the 80s and 90s, like wheels. It's unreal.
You heard it
Really?
here first.
Sounds like he really doubled down on a fad and then like couldn't maybe
Yeah.
dig his way out.
New old
Exactly.
stock.
Yeah, but like he still had brake pads from that catalog on the counter when we went in there. So I don't know. It must have been just a front or something, because there's no possible way that this guy was still doing business. But he had all that stuff still there. I think I put it on my Instagram stories like when I went there, and like we were going through all these crazy wheels and stuff. And like there were 3-piece wheels from like Japan in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Man, Rare Spec is listening to this and just fucking getting
I'll
amped.
take you there. Rare Spec. We'll go and check it out. We'll just go buy a bunch of stuff, bring like 5K, and we'll like buy out the place.
Money's no obstacle.
Yo, one other thing I was thinking that I always like hated was like F1 copies.
What do you mean?
F1 copies.
Yeah, like I feel like there was a time when like F1 drivers wore those little pads on their harness, and then all of a sudden, like every person would have like that pad on their seatbelt.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Honda. And then the other thing, like F1, like at the time, I swear also had like a flat bottom steering wheel. And then like all of a sudden, like all these people started like releasing these flat bottom steering wheels, and it's just like no, like
I didn't know
no.
that the seatbelt pads came from an F1 fad. I was just
I didn't know that either.
I
was
feel
just
that's
like,
where it's from.
you want to make your seatbelt more comfortable and let people know what type of car you drive. Get this pad, and then like they had like the neck pads you could put as well.
Honestly, like I feel I've never used one, but I honestly feel that that's like maybe a chill idea.
I had them, and I thought, because I got them at a car show, they were handing them out. I had Recaro ones.
Yeah,
and I
just handing
wanted
out.
I yelled the loudest, and then I
Nice.
was like, "This is ricey." And then Jordan Hall later in my life found them. He's like, "Why aren't you using these? I'll use them." And then Jordan Hall
Yeah.
put them in something. Okay, so there's all that ricey shit, and I made the point earlier. I'm gonna reiterate this. It's like, what fads would you like to see come back? And I think, Gerard, you said like, "Hey, I'm living in that era. Like, I don't go past the 2000s," and I kind of agree with that. And the idea is, any good fad that existed, it was just survival of the fittest. Like, it lasted, and we're still doing it. Like, maybe it's done by a different name. When I started, we didn't fucking call it aero. We just called it body kits, or some people called it ground effects. But now it's aero, because I
Yeah.
guess that sounds cooler, but I still think they're body kits. Like, part of me is
Yeah.
like, just call it a body kit. It's a body kit.
I swear some people call them spoilers too. Like
Everything?
yeah, like
Shit.
the lip. They're like, oh, it's a spoiler. Like,
Hmm.
but I mean, that's also like, it's like regional colloquialisms and shit too.
Yeah, that's true. I started though thinking like in the 2000s, when I started really getting into this, and I started like doing Total Logic and following things, and like things that I probably thought were really cool at the time that I don't think are cool anymore. So a fad that should stay behind is sticker bombing things.
Yep, fully.
Like your car?
Like dudes would like sticker bomb just the lip of their car. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was like,
No.
holy shit, that's so unique and cool, and it stands out. And look at all the stickers they must have collected.
Or
and
the
blah, blah,
roof
blah.
rack.
Or their roof. Yeah.
No.
I just actually think roof racks altogether, unless it's like
Should be
fully functional, the roof racks should not exist. Like,
So
there's-
how do you feel
Agree.
about the guy? How do you feel about the guy who shows up to like the car show with a keg on his roof rack, or a BMX on his roof rack? Or,
nah, that ain't me. I'm
No?
not about that. Not like there was a time where you put like
Unless he's bringing that bike to the park to ride, like you're going to a car meet, you don't need your BMX there. You're not gonna pull it off and like fucking ride around.
Maybe
Like,
he.
you're
what
just
if he does?
trying.
If he does that make it better somehow?
Nah.
I mean,
If
like
the whole thing's color matched to
marginally?
the car, it's an
Nah.
ensemble.
Nah, I don't like roof racks. I don't like roof
I
racks. on
feel like that
cars.
was
I
like
mean,
that must have started with like Volkswagen.
Volkswagens. What
I
about
agree. I don't
what
think
about
they
the
look
Lambo with the Thule rack?
Don't
know?
like it. Nah.
No, I don't like it either. I
That's
ain't putting a
that's
Thule
a
rack
dude
on my
with a
Lambo.
lot of money being like, I got a lot of money.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
just wanna
like-
do something silly. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, but that is it. There is a point in especially in my life of anything. It's like, I just want to do something silly. And that was like an easy out for any car guy. It was like, I like modding cars, but maybe I don't have a lot of money. So maybe I'll just do something silly to my car. And it's like,
maybe I'll just sticker.
Oh
bomb
yeah,
one
like paint my
fender.
stock wheels fucking orange. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good
Yeah, no, that's
you guys,
I
I,
mean,
had a car.
hey,
at
maybe-
one point.
Take the time to
that's-
plastic
that's-
dip.
maybe that's the first hit of a lifetime of addiction. You know.
Yeah, as long as someone doesn't like get mad at you, and then you're like, "This scene's toxic." Respect all builds. But yeah, like,
Respect my plastic dip stock wheel.
yeah,
I never got that. Honestly, it's like, dude, you're gonna spend, I don't know how long it'd take you. Maybe if you're really shitty, it'd take you an hour. But if you're like trying to make your shit look good, you're gonna spend 2 hours at least and a bunch of money to take your stock wheels and make them look worse. Like they're either gonna be flat black or some stupid fucking color.
But
I
it's
can't say I haven't been there though.
Fuck
I
it,
haven't
look.
painted my stock wheels, but at one time I was just like, oh, like I'm gonna fill in this entire body groove that runs the entire length of the Corolla with Bondo. Like, do you think I ever completed that job? Like, do you think that like ever looked good? Like, no. Like I don't know. Like I don't know what I was thinking. Like,
and I did full. So the tail end of me having the 180, and I don't think I've ever said this. I spray bombed that car in a garage. Like I set up a
A
paint
whole
booth.
car.
Yeah, and I did like I fixed all the dents and I made it like satin army green, and it was.
I'm surprised you didn't do the roller. Remember the roller method?
yeah.
Nope. No.
You
I'm
don't
a fine
remember
art
that?
student. You know, I do, but I was
No.
like, that's not for me. I'm a fine art student. Watch me go. And I like fixed all the dents in it, and it turned out surprisingly okay. But this is why I ended up selling the car. I liked it for a season, and at the end I was like, why did I do this? This is so fucking dumb. And then I sold the car, and then
Well, at
But
that point
I
you should
get
have doubled down and put the red stars on the door.
yeah, I guess. At
Howard
one point I
Stickle
had
on the roof.
at one point I had a rising sun hood on my car, which
Yeah.
was like, yeah.
Sounds about right. That sounds like a Saskatchewan JDM build.
Yeah. I mean, I had other like all the
Army green with
engine
the rising
parts.
sun hood.
Well, it was originally black.
And it was a Mazda?
No, this was
No,
the
it was
Yukon.
okay. That's
This
chassis.
was this was the 180. But what happened was Adrian Amati wanted my black hood. He's the one that built the sexy style.
Yeah, the nice FC. That thing was
Yeah.
sick.
And he had the rising sun hood, and then I ran it on my car
Nice.
because he wanted to run the black hood on his S chassis. And so I ran that, and it was like fine for a bit. But also Jesse Exner, the guy that does all my tattoos, worked at a vinyl, like at a screen printing place. So he would print us whatever vinyl we wanted for cars. Like, so all the Dota Logic stickers were made there initially, but he would
Yeah.
make other shit. So there was like stickers of me swearing that they had on people's cars. And then,
Oh, one of those.
yeah. And then,
Is this
and
a fad or is this?
I don't know. I think it was just like we could do whatever we wanted, and we took it to the extreme. It was like someone took us to a buffet and we just put all of the different foods on a plate and got sick. I don't know. We all
Yeah.
grew up.
You have full creative control, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't like where this is going.
My friend in high school used to work at Mr. Sub, and she let me go behind and make, like, the first time you make whatever type of sub you want, it was fully the grossest sub I've ever had. It had, like, Louisiana chicken on it and like ribs and stuff. I was like, what am I doing? I can't even eat this. And that was my car, I think, at one point.
Now I'm a vegan.
Now I don't. Yeah,
Now I'm a vegan, and I have no cars.
I have cars. Get out of here. They're fancy ornaments.
They just don't have stickers. Now I have no stickers. See?
They're all on the back window. It's the role of, SerialNine's there, and Hot Boys are there, and the people that have somewhat of a significance in my life are on the car. What are your favorite trends that have carried through over the years?
So this is the bigger stuff, the good stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna get to the good stuff. Big wheels on S chassis. That was a fad in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I remember like the first time I started watching option videos, it was mainly just, whatever 4-bolt 15s and stuff on S chassis. And I remember seeing the first 180 SX, and it had 17-18 combo, 5-bolt VSKFs, super low. I think it was just a stock Type X kit. And I was like, yo, that is the sickest thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. So then it started getting popular.
Is it still
What?
popular? Are we still at that point where people run giant wheels? I noticed that more people are trying to run small
Absolutely.
No,
I
it seems
mean,
like
now
there's
it's like a
definitely
fad to run
resurgence.
small wheels. Of
It
small
is.
wheels?
But I think
Small
maybe
wheels.
like 2 or 3 years ago, nobody was running small wheels or whatever. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
It feels
Like
like
now,
Yeah,
now
I mean,
we've
it was a lot
Now we've
less.
crested the wave, and we're coming back down a bit.
Mhm.
Yeah. This is like all style is cyclical thing. So like you guys pointed out back in the day, like tribal was a thing. And then it went away because we're like, oh, tribal, oh yuck, gross. And then people are like, what if we just like layer tribal on top of each other, like dual layer, and like it's really intricate. And then it's like, oh,
I fully
yeah,
wish just tribal would just go
Stroke
away.
it. Stroke the tribal.
stroke the tribal.
Yeah.
Make the tribal be carbon fiber tearing through a brushed aluminum with a fire underneath and like a dragon that's eating a wolf, but the wolf is actually transforming into a woman.
And what the
Yeah,
fuck?
there you go. That's the one. That's the one.
That's the current
That's the
tribal.
one.
Wow. I would pay money to see that, I think.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Kevin's clearly on some very heavy allergy medicine that he shouldn't be mixing with alcohol. Where did you see this design? I'm trying to remember the proper name of these bumper, like the
Works
bumper.
nine.
style.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's
like
the
Invader,
Shogun style?
Arrow.
Invader, yeah. Invader.
Urabuni
Yeah,
Invader.
Invader.
Oh,
with the fangs.
Yeah.
those are all definitely like 90s. Yeah, so body kits generally, because I mean back then it was just
Gerard,
I
it's
mean, I'm kinda
Arrow
like-
now. It's Arrow. We call it Arrow. It was body
Honestly,
kit.
to
Arrow
me-
now.
To
But
me,
yes.
body kit is what I say when it's shitty.
Oh.
Arrow kit's what I say when I like it, you know?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Or body
I mean, I
kit's
feel
when
like
I'm
if you're trying to
explaining to a
explain it,
layman. Yeah.
yeah, if you're explaining it to like a normal person, you're like, yeah, like a body kit, like it it's like goes on the body and makes it like lower
that
and
goes on the
different,
body.
and they're like, sure,
And then if you got to go one layer
yeah,
deeper,
like
you're
body
like,
kits started coming
it
out.
like replaces the bumper and it's lower. Like
Ground effects. Remember ground
lip kit. Yeah,
Lip
exactly.
kit.
Dude, I don't even ground effects is like different.
Yeah, like I don't know
What
what ground
is it?
effects really is either to me.
Gerard, as our resident
gr-
old guy, what are ground effects?
Ground effects are like what American cars had on, and I swear they were actually trying to be ground effects. Like they had some shit underneath where it was like a flat bottom, and then they had like, you know, like lower lip kits that would actually try to deflect the air for, you know, aerodynamic purposes. I mean, not the body kits and Aero aren't
I
supposed to
feel
do
like
that.
Arrow
but I
got the
feel like-
name of being aerodynamic. Is that where we got Arrow from?
Aerodynamic.
Yeah, but I
bumpers,
feel
yeah.
most Aero.
Fuck, Arrow is funny the more I think about it.
I feel like Aero.
What a bunch of
It's more or
pretentious
less just
fucks
for
we are,
style.
just calling it Arrow. Come on.
I got the new M Sports Aero.
I was talking to a friend who's fully in
Anyways,
the car
yeah, so
scene,
body
and
kits
I was
came out.
talking about I was talking like, yeah, they're like this Japanese aero manufacturer, blah 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 blah. And they're like, why do you know about Japanese aero manufacturers? I'm like, I don't know, it's like part of my job. And they fully thought I was talking about like bow and arrow manufacturers.
I'm saying, I feel like what
Arrow.
happened is like nothing changed. We as a culture just got more pretentious to look down on people. Like we made up insider lingo to be like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
you
called
called it,
jargon.
yeah, you called it body kits, fucking peasant.
Yeah.
Arrow. It's like nothing's changed. like I guarantee when the shit that they put on my car back in the 90s or whoever built my car, that's still the same goddamn thing. It's still a body kit, but now it's just Arrow lip kit. Like it's fucking pretentious.
You don't want to know when I
Well, I mean, I
instantly
feel
think
like
someone's
it's also a
peasant?
translation.
Yeah, that's also a pretentious thing to say. Just it's a fucking fiberglass that makes your car look different or like whatever. Anyway, go on.
when you're like, oh, like what's your wheel, like, you know, what's your wheel size, or like, you know, and then they're like, oh, I have blank and a blank lip,
6-inch lips.
6-inch lips, 8-inch lips, It's like, that's not a fucking wheel size.
People
you know?
answer
Yeah.
questions like that?
All the time, man. They're like,
Oh,
what size?
dude.
You're like, what size wheel do you have? And you're like, a 7.5-inch lip. And it's like, well, that doesn't tell me the rest of the wheel or where the fucking
Man.
center is, you know?
What if they
All
told you
day
the
long.
size of the face and then the
No,
like,
see, that's the
outer-
thing. People, they're fucking. That's a new school thing. Like people
It's
are like,
fully
oh,
a
like
new school thing.
I'm like, what are your sizes and offsets? They're like, I have a 6-inch lip and a 4-inch barrel, and you're like, so what? You have a 10-inch wheel. What the fuck else does that tell me? You have a low disc, mid disc, high disc. It could be multiple different offsets. That doesn't tell me shit about the wheel. And they're just like, yeah, 6-inch lip, bro, 7-inch lip, bro.
But
And you're like,
maybe
all right,
this goes back. Maybe
figure
this
it out,
is
bro.
more like the arrow thing. Maybe as times evolved and we got away from all that shit that we didn't like from that, it was like the jargon and the way like the semantics of it all have shifted to be more like insider knowledge. And it's like the more specific I can be about like my build of anything.
No,
like,
but
the
it's
more
gone. It's
elite I
become
am.
less specific. It's going from like, oh, I have a triple disc, like clutch that can hold 780 foot-pounds of torque, to being like, I have a stage 3 clutch. It's like, well, what the
Yo,
fuck does that
stage
mean?
3.
Like, what
But
the
I
fuck
guess
does that mean?
I guess it's
If you
just meant
told
to
me
be
the
like
first thing, I'd know everything about your clutch. You tell me the second thing, I don't know anything about your clutch. And if you're like, oh, I have an 18 by 10, like minus 12, that tells me everything I need to know. Or, well, if you tell me like the disc or whatever, but
the
like, yeah,
TSWs.
but if you're like, oh, I have 5.5 inches of lip, like that doesn't tell me anything about your fucking wheel.
Then do you think that the people that are doing that maybe aren't fully indoctrinated into the car scene and are just saying that to like
Absolutely.
seem like they know more, or are we holding on to an old dialect of import car culture?
No,
I'm here to say we should
No.
bring back the term
Tell
body
'em-
kits to make it mean a thing. Go on.
well, that
I swear we
honestly,
still
because
say
that's
body kits,
that's
man. I
another
don't
thing
know.
is like we people will email us and they'll be like, I want this, I want the body kit on the Aristo, and you're like, well, are you talking about the front lip and side skirts, or are you talking about the fenders?
Oh,
Because
It's-
body kit might mean the fenders. I don't know. That's the body of the vehicle.
maybe they just want their
Yeah.
car to look
Or
like
then the
Gerard.
bumpers really are.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, a body kit is the bumper, side skirts,
No,
full
totally.
kit, man. Rear bumper, that's your body kit.
Yeah, totally.
Then if you were like, oh, it's an 8-piece body kit, I'm like, oh, there's more pieces to this body kit.
But maybe they're talking about the wide body kit.
Oof, yeah,
There's levels.
You know, there's
But-
levels to this shit.
Okay, so cool trends to come out of the 2000s besides big wheels on S chassis and stuff.
LED illuminated NOS purge.
I was thinking Japan, but yeah, sure, that's cool too.
Very specific, and I love it. Man, cool things to come. Like I said, we've held on to all the cool things. We've just changed the terms for it and became very pretentious about how we talk about it.
Yo, cool things that came out of the early 2000s Japan. Blitz 03s.
The question actually said Gerard wasn't allowed to talk about Blitz 03s. But I don't think Blitz
Oh, really?
03s were.
It's okay. I'll talk about the Techno
I'll
Speed
talk, I'll
Z2s.
talk about the Blitz.
Talk about the
03s.
Z1s.
The Blitz 03s weren't really popular then, though. It's like this. We've talked about this.
But they
like,
came out of then. Same
They
with like
did, no.
Ganadors.
I don't even think they were out. They came out later. They came out later.
Yeah.
Ganondorf did, but Blitz 03s are from that era, and nobody gave a shit, or
Blitz
they came
03s.
out later.
I think they
That's
came
what
out a little
Blitz
bit
03s were
later.
out
man.
in
They weren't like
2001. yeah.
honestly, like
Is that like just false nostalgia? Like
I don't
somebody
know.
had that car somewhere, and then it's like, oh yeah, like Blitz 03s.
Well, didn't
No.
didn't like
Well, see,
Urus
that's the
have
kinda
that, like,
cool thing.
5-spoke wheel as well?
Who?
There was like a really
like a 3-piece.
Urus had this really chunky.
Yeah, your
3-spoke,
ass had a
or sorry,
wheel. Come on.
5-spoke. All right, I'm out of here.
No, get back, Eurus.
I,
What are you-
I searched Blitz 03 release date and it was like NFL Blitz fucking Game Boy 2, PlayStation 2, August 12th, 2002.
I just want to say NFL Blitz is a great fucking football game, and I would take that over Blitz 03s any day. That's not true. Maybe I would. Blitz 03s, I feel like weren't popular back then. Like we weren't thinking about when did we even start considering offsets and wheel width? The 2000s, maybe that started.
I mean, that's the thing. To me, that's when that trend came out, man. Because I feel like the S chassis guys were starting to fucking mix VIP influence stuff with their cars, and that's. I mean, I remember the option video, the option magazine vividly, because there was also a JZX 100 on just Equips, and I was like, that is the car. It was a JZX 100 Mark II 1718 stagger. Oh shit, I think it was 1819 stagger actually on that car, and it was chrome Equips, black BN Sports, and I was just like, man, that is like literally the coolest car since that 180 SX. But yeah, they were basically just taking all these big wheels that were like sort of not left over, but like all these VIP guys were buying all these ridiculous wheels, or they were taking GTR offset wheels, and then they were like basically changing to 5-bolt and then putting them on the S chassis, and that was like a thing. It was starting to get big.
That's from the early 2000s, then, right? It's like we figured out wheel sizes. It was like that's when like
exactly,
was like, hey, guess what?
And they started pushing it, and then that's when I guess probably Haraguchi was like, yo, like you guys got like 10.5, like GTR offset wheels. Like fuck that, I'm gonna buy these VSKFs that came off of like some crazy, like ridiculous VIP car and put them on my FC. And you're like, all right, you know what I mean? Like that
stuff is, I don't know that. The dudes that were like, we want to pull that out of a ditch and rebuild it. I have no allegiance to that car, my friends. That's not me. All right. So why have we seen a resurgence then of small wheels on S chassis?
Because, man, how many S chassis styles
you have to be
in the last
different.
like 30 years, right? They're gonna have to do something.
Like now having the small wheels, you're instantly different. You know what I mean? Whereas before having the big wheels was what made you instantly different.
What was the height of big
crest of the wave?
What was the height of big wheels for S chassis in North America?
Fuck, I swear it was very recent, if not still now. I mean,
I feel
maybe less now.
I feel like Tandem of Die. It was just like people went nuts when they put their car, when Tandem of Die had their like car out on like big wheels. No?
Yeah, I mean there was that one car that what the fuck was that thing? Steve Speck built these like crazy Fittipaldi something or other, but they made them 3-piece and they were like huge. And it was an S14. It was actually really clean. It had a 1J in it, and that car was like pretty wild.
I feel like if I don't say it, then if he even still listens to this podcast, and like there was that point Zap ran like emits on his S13 with the 1J in it. Like there was definitely the height of that. But anyway, so and then it seemed like people moved away from that. It peaked, and then so I feel like we're due to come back to like VIP wheels on S chassis sooner than later.
But I mean, that's never been gone. That's still completely a thing.
Yeah, I know you're right. I'm sorry. I mean, do you feel like the spotlight's still totally on it? I feel like maybe I'm.
I feel like a lot.
That's what I'm going to say. The S chassis community is so large, so there's always going to be small wheel dudes pushing it. There's always going to be like VIP wheels. There's always going to be like drift cars. There's always going to be every genre of that car, and people trying to get to the extreme of it.
Yeah,
I agree.
The total wave of people, I don't think is going towards VIP wheels. I don't think they're going towards small wheels. And it seems that like as you could be talking about any car right now, but like it also doesn't seem like there's no more cars coming. There's no more 100s, there's no more S13s, there's no more S15s. So like when you got that car, you probably you have a vision. Yeah, you're not gonna have a 19-inch wheel build 1 year and then a 15-inch wheel build 2 years later. It's probably not happening,
Right.
So I kind of think that whichever direction those cars are going in, until they change owners or whatever, that's kind of where they're going.
Built to last. All right. So what other styles are we thinking?
Well, obviously Street Glow. Street Glow will never die.
I feel like it did for a bit, and then somebody brought it back. I feel like Underglow had a slight time
yo. Lambo Doris.
Like Tracker.
I think they're cool.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like they're a huge pain in the ass and they're giant pieces of shit. And I've actually installed, removed, serviced, and done funny story. This one dude wanted to get him on his Integra, and we wouldn't do it. We're like, okay, yeah, like no, like the kit you bought's a piece of shit. Like it's gonna be bad. And he was kind of like a questionable dude, like heavy drug use, questionable like activities type of dude, right? So shows up one day. He's like, yeah, I got it done, blah, blah. And I was like, oh no, right? So I looked, they had welded the hinges to the car. So like now he can't take the fucking doors off. And then obviously you have to extend the wiring harness because now your doors don't just open one way. They open, they need to be like a foot longer or something. They'd cut all the wires and crimped both ends. They'd added like jumper wires. Every wire was yellow, and they had crimped all the things. So like you'd open the door, and all you see were these butt ugly welds and like blue crimp connectors. I mean, I swear, like crackheads installed it like in the backyard or something. It was so bad.
Gerard, I hear
so
you
bad.
I hear you not respecting all builds right now. A lot of what happened to a wheel is a wheel and it goes roundy round and it rolls on the ground and it's all right. But then you're so mad at Lambo doors and shitty installs.
No, I like the Lambo doors, but the shitty install killed
like,
it.
Does the door open?
Or the worst.
Does the door go
open?
When
you go to open a Lambo.
Barely.
The worst is when you go to get out of a Lambo car and you open the door normally, and then as you go to step out, it swings back in because you've opened, like it only opens like whatever 20 degrees. So you go to swing it open like a regular car, it hits the stop, swings back and hits you because you forgot to fucking like swing it up. Yeah, it's
I thought you can get ones that do both, can't you? Or no? No, it's one or the other. All right. But anyway, so Lambo doors you're okay with. Underglow, I do feel like both of those got a bad rap. They went away for a bit and then they came back. Like someone
because everybody and their mom was making Lambo door kits and they were terrible. Like
yeah. So what's a good
like
Lambo door kit, Gerard? Who makes the best
LamboKit.com.
I don't even know.
Well, I was just going to say Lamborghini.
I don't even know if they make that stuff anymore. But no, they had like really nice billet aluminum, like super, like a lot of adjustments to like make sure the door closed or opened the right way. Like, harness extensions for the specific cars. Like they would just plug in. But like, man, those were like $2,000 or something.
Sounds like a gold mine. Sounds like SerialNine can make some serious gold off of it. No?
We wanted to always make, because we're sedan kings, we wanted to make Lambicides. So the front ones open like Lambos and the rear ones open like Lambos, but suicide. So they were Lambicides.
What do you mean we? I'd be way more down to do that on a Nissan that was pillarless on the doors, at least. So that way when you...
Well, I mean, you'd only have the one pillar.
It would only have half a pillar.
Yeah, so it'd basically just like break in half.
Yeah, exactly. Like a typical Nissan.
All right. So we like Lambo doors. We like underglow. I still want to reiterate.
We like big wheels.
We like
definitely
big
like big wheels.
I would say that some things wax and wane in popularity, and like maybe when they're very popular, people don't like them because they're very popular, or because perhaps since they're very popular, they get executed very poorly.
Right.
Because it's like the thing that everyone sees as being cool. So they
because now instead of like, and maybe they don't have the know-how to do it properly.
Yeah, I think what happens is someone comes along, does something, takes something and executes it on it very well. People see that. They're like, I'm going to do it. It kind of starts a trend. And then you kind of can watch the trend take off. And then the more and more people execute on it poorly, the trend starts to die, because then it becomes affiliated with like the bad fad, and then the fad has to go away for a while until someone comes back and says like, I'm going to execute properly on this again.
Yes.
I think candy paint started coming into like when you had like drift cars and like, when those guys were putting the shiny chrome like VSs and Equips and shit on their S chassis, they needed it to look a little bit more bling. So I feel like the colors got a bit more like outlandish, and like 326 Power, for example, back in the day, like their cars were crazy. Was it 326 Power, or who was it? Those fucking candy red cars that were super nice, who now is T-Demand, is Takeshi Tanaka.
Yeah.
So now it's T-Demand, but back then it was
like S14.
Fuck, why can't I remember? There's an S14 and S13, and they were
But
just
yeah,
so
even I know what you're
incredibly,
talking
like,
about. Like also like
balled out.
the whole like having hyperflare or like flake in the paint, or it's like
yeah,
because then all of a sudden it was like candy paint wasn't enough. Now now you need
Yeah.
the flare in the paint, and like it just kind of built on itself. And
yeah. It's like we were pulling from like lowrider culture and like VIP culture and like fucking I don't even know, like yeah, like you were just figuring out like what was cool. And I mean that's how Serial 9 style sort of came out. Like yeah, we definitely have a really heavy 2000s influence, but I mean I definitely was always into like low riders and hot rods and like VIP cars, so there's always some sort of aspect of that in my cars,
Kevin's always been into doing wild shit and then never talking to people about it. Like, leave me the fuck alone. I'm just getting gas. What was I gonna say?
probably gonna talk some shit.
Nah, I wasn't gonna talk some shit. I was gonna ask a serious question. Have we moved away from that though? Like, is candy paint not popular right now, or has it always stayed popular?
I don't know. I feel like cars lately just look. I mean, when the car has so much livery on it, it doesn't seem to really matter what color it is. It's kind of like the overall effect. It's almost like you can have kind of like a shitty car, but like or like you can have shitty parts, but like if the execution in its entirety is kind of sick, then you can kind of get away with it. I feel like it's sort of like that with the liveries. It's like you got so much going on. The base color could be fucking white, pink, yellow, multicolor, fade. Who gives a fuck? It's like it just looks nuts. The end result is like the car looks fucking nuts.
But are liveries still in style? Because they're not for
Absolutely.
You guys. But they're not for you guys. And I would argue that there's not camps. There's arms of this like style thing, and liveries aren't in style for you guys, right?
Well, I mean, a certain type of livery.
I feel like we have like
putting
a street style livery where
Yeah,
you
I'm
have
not
like the
putting-
roll call, and maybe you have like a hip stripe, and you have like the rear window with like all your homies,
So
but maybe not like the full wrapped up.
I'm not putting tribal on my car. It's not a
Right.
fucking way.
So, and I will say
I did put flames on my car, but
you made it look like your car had like your headlights were on green fire, one of them.
yeah, I never finished that.
No, I saw that. It went right into the wall. That's why you didn't finish it.
Well, I actually took it off for that event because I was like, well, I can't have this half-assed fucking thing, so I just took it all off.
Okay, so I do agree. One of the things that I've always liked, and when I was researching this article, someone was like listing all the I'll say air quotes because I don't think they were part of our culture, the JDM car trends that need to die, and they said like the kind of like the grocery list shit. And
yeah,
I've kind of always been a fan of like the grocery list.
Yeah,
thing.
me too.
Because it's
that type of stickers.
Yeah,
like that type of like whatever
down the
door, like livery
down the
or
door,
sticker
like
style.
the
the like, hey, this is the shit
like
that I
that.
have on my car. And the reason why I thought this person is like they're not fully in touch with our culture was because they're like, unless you like a fully sponsored autocross, and I'm like, nope, you used autocross as your example. So you're full of shit, buddy. That's not what this is about. And
autocrossers are
Yeah,
culturally
no, I-
appropriating our style.
yeah. But like I've always fully been on like if you have like cool Japanese parts, I like when it's all like color, like Gerard's car. Like I like that, there's like this white car and then it had
Yeah, it obviously
had, like,
looks better than if you took the sticker that each company gave you and put it in that representative spot. It obviously looks better that they're all matching.
Yeah, and that's what I like. I
know, right?
I've always liked that. The full-on livery, I think, has its place for some people. I'm not mad at it, but it's never a thing that I would be like, I'm going to do that because it doesn't make sense. I'm not a drifter. I think that drift culture, even as a niche, is like, I guess if Americans are listening, as a niche is
a niche. Is that even a fucking word?
They call it a niche. We say niche.
Yeah, it's a foyer.
Oh my god,
it's a foyer.
A niche and a
Look,
scratch.
if I got up on my roof right now and just hollered at y'all and the foyer, you would understand this niche that we're about to talk about.
All right.
Yeah. Now I don't fucking remember because I was talking about Americans.
Because
What
you
was I
all
saying?
hopped up on soda.
Jesus, you guys.
Drifting above all else has to be like the biggest melting pot of all these cultures together, right? Like drifters were the ones that actually I feel like brought back underglow.
Maybe drifters are like the only culture keeping all these stupid little eccentric styles alive. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like, you don't really go to car shows and see like winning car show cars with street glow or Lambo doors anymore, or fucking zebra seats or whatever it is. But like all of that shit is like stupid drift car stuff. That's like,
Yeah.
because like drift cars it's just being about as stupid as you can, or about trying to make your car as about you as you can, or as different from the next guy, and then also drift it. No matter what you have, it's accepted. Whereas like if you go
Because
to a car
it's not
show,
acceptable
it's
to be
what-
unaccepting.
Exactly. But if you go to a car show, it's like you have to have all of your boxes checked. You can't be out of the box.
Yo,
Yeah.
you're totally right.
Because they can execute. So we're arguing that as long as execution is proper, you can get
There's definitely the cars that I don't like, but whatever.
but you respect them because they're executed, but you don't. So Gerard does almost respect all builds, is what I've learned from this podcast. I was going to say though,
I'm still waiting on that Cavalier build to blow me away.
Yeah. I wish people still built Cavaliers. I'm lying, I don't.
Yeah, because now they're building Taurus SHOs.
I wonder what those guys are
seriously
doing.
though,
Yeah, I know,
considering it.
Get out of here. The funny thing though about car shows is that eventually it's like
They suck.
yeah, that maybe car shows become like this prevalent form of what's actually kind of popular in car culture, because there became this sense at one point where like car show guys started building like race inspired car builds. Like it was like, oh yeah, I put hood pins on and I have all these things. Like if I was and like the Honda dudes have like the tow hooks and all that shit. Like it's like, it becomes that sense of like,
I have a trend that I forgot. I have a trend that we forgot. Okay, so this is a good one. Different tail lights from different cars.
Oh,
headlights too, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
That is
right? Like the fucking Supra tails on an Integra.
DC, Integra.
Yeah, 100%.
I've seen Super tails on CRX.
So many.
What about like 2001 Celica headlights on like a Prelude, like a 95 Prelude or something, like.
So here's a question though, because that's a very custom job, right? It's like I'm taking these like fucking out of like Super taillights, whatever, putting it on a Honda. How do you feel about like Nissans when S chassis swap between like front ends? So like silly.
Oh, like a one Via and a silly.
Generations? Yeah, at least that's like between.
You're okay with that? Like I used to love it, and then like once I had a 180, I was like, I'll just keep pop-ups. That's fine. Do you like it though?
I'm not a huge fan of that weird, like when I had a Stagia, like I had a C34 Stagia, and everyone's like, yo, you're gonna like fucking R34 front end swap it. I'm just like, no, man. Like the Stagia is a Stagia. I like it because it's a fucking Stagia. I don't want it to look like a Skyline wagon. Like I don't like, I'd buy a Skyline if I wanted a Skyline. Like I don't want that car. You know what I mean?
That's also how I felt once I got the 180. Like I was kind of like, if I wanted an S15, I'll just wait and buy an S15. Like I won't. So we've switched back to awful car trends, which is fun. I don't know.
It's more fun.
Remember drift trinkets?
What the fuck is a drift trinket?
Like dudes that would put like that Domo fucking stuffed animal, they'd hang it from like their tow hook, like little stuffed animals.
Oh man, that shit's still
anything hanging from your tow hook.
Anything hanging from your tow hook.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah. Dudes who take the JDM like new learner stickers, like the appropriated Japanese
or the Japanese N.
The shocker.
The shocker.
That was a Volkswagen original.
Yeah.
No, the shocker's from Honda culture, man.
Tell me
I think
more.
Honda culture really dug in and
The shocker?
borrowed from Volkswagen.
Yeah, to me that's a Volkswagen thing. But anyway,
Yeah,
tell
there
me
was
how
a
I've
it's
whole
never
different.
seen
point
that on
where
those.
like Honda
Really?
guys were just following Volkswagen dudes. That's where you get like the rusted hood shit. Like
No.
that stuff.
Yeah,
needs
no,
to
that
stay
makes
away.
totally makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, that's a weird trend.
Like the rusted hood and the rusted
Rusted
hood
hoods.
and like roof racks is that's Volks. I swear to God that has to be like
That's Volkswagen. For sure. Yeah.
Honda guys were like, we'll do that.
Okay, I got two cool trends for you. Super low and super wide. That shit was fully like it kind of was just a natural progression of like the big wheels, the super wide wheels, the super low, and the super wide car. Like, obviously
I looked up
Haraguchi's
the
car was
meaning
like,
of the shocker sticker, and it's like on a Golf.
oh really?
Yeah. Anyway,
But I mean,
For
that
whatever-
could just be like a
yeah, for whatever that's worth.
Like super low and super wide, but there's a point where super wide becomes not great, right? So kind of the other part that maybe drives these fads into the ground is like when people take them
the
too
poor
far.
execution.
The
Yeah.
poor execution or taking it too
Exactly.
far. And which is like, this is actually me borrowing from a Gerard thing where it was like, when people were like, I will build the widest fucking wheels and then make the car fit the wheels.
With the wheel, yeah.
And that probably killed that scene a bit, like that fad of doing that, right? It was just
Oh
like,
yeah, for sure.
we totally go to this point where everyone takes everything to the extreme. So it was like, even sticker bombing, not that I like it, but I remember the first time I'd seen it, it was a lip. And then like somebody was like, I'm going to sticker bomb my hood. And then it's like, there's a sense where we take a thing and we exploit it as far as we can until it's no longer cool.
I think like all of these trends and all of these things, how they go is like, so you see that guy with the sticker bomb fender or whatever, and you're
Yeah.
like, I hate it. I will never do that. So you and all of the people who agree with you move against that trend. And then the guy who has it for a bit, he loves it. But if he continues on going down the car path, eventually he'll be like, man, like, I don't like that. Like when I painted my car flat black, or when I put a garden gutter lip on it, or when I tried to fill in a body line with Bondo. And it's just like, no, that was a stupid idea. And on my next car, I'm not going to do that, So on the next build, maybe he doesn't do that and it fades away. But like, yeah, I feel that like, I feel that like the person who thought it was a good idea eventually maybe won't think it's a good idea. And the person who didn't think it was a good idea in the beginning is never going to think it's a good idea. So like, that's why what works stays. And that's why what doesn't work just dies,
I think though that there's people that do bad things and continue to do bad things. There's the fueled by hate. And in an alternate universe, there's a version of Kevin that when people walk by his Corolla and they're pissed off about it and he laughs about it, continues to do the thing that people hate. And he's like, I'm still pissing them off.
Yeah, I've never had that. I've never had that. I always just wanted people to think my car was sick. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying because
I always
that's
just
a
wanted to
thing.
think my own car was sick.
Why are you such a people?
I mean, obviously, I think my car is sick. I just want other people to agree with that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not building a car for people. I'm building a car that I think is sick, and I want people to notice it.
So you've never been fueled by the haters?
Not really, man.
That feels like a Kyle thing.
What's a Kyle thing? That fueled by hate?
Fueled by hate, punch some holes in a drywall, hop in your giant.
Yeah, like you have the
truck.
loudest exhaust in the world just to like piss everybody off.
But I had a loud exhaust. I think there is a learning curve. I agree with that. There is absolutely.
But I mean, exhaust exhaust is going to be loud. Exhaust is loud. Doesn't give a fuck what it is. But like the loudest exhaust, maybe not.
I want that to be a.
You know what the loudest exhaust is?
What, yours?
Border 304.
Yeah, Border 304.
Yeah.
What fad are you scared will make a comeback?
I ain't scared of any fad. I don't really give a fuck.
All right, so fucking Gerard's no fear over there.
No, okay. Well, what's a fad that I don't want to come back? I don't know. Like fuel laws with shitty cars, like where they stifle the horsepower and
that's
like
not really a
make
fad, is it?
No, it's not. So I mean, that's the only thing I'd be scared
That's
of.
the
What's a
constant
fad?
progression, bro.
That is, yeah. I mean, like, look, there's if you're worried about fuel laws, actually, then you should be very concerned with the amount of like EV powered vehicles coming out. Because
I'm good. I'm gonna get a Taycan, so I'm good.
for fuck's sakes, is there any other fads that we love or hate?
What about grounding kits?
Shit,
Grounding kits.
the first time I went to a shop in Vancouver, they tried to sell me a grounding kit.
Yeah, I remember like.
I mean,
HKS had
grounds are
grounding
good.
kits.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
grounds are
grounds are
good.
good,
But I
but,
mean,
like,
like, do we need a grounding
do-
kit? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Do you
Isn't
need like a 6-gauge wire going from every single part of your engine to every single part of the body?
I mean, I'll say
And do
they're
you need,
not
like
bad.
the battery
They're just
to
fucking.
ground to like 10 different spots.
Didn't I have one in my Aristo when I brought it in for Gerard to like roll the fenders? And Kevin, you like hooked it up to the battery and it started smoking. And then we're like, let's just take that out.
I think that might have been a battery monitor.
Battery monitor.
I have one of those in some of the other car. Yeah. I'm trying to think of interior trends, and there kind of aren't any. I mean, there's like bolted roll cages; those are still sort of popular.
Anything race
When you
track, right?
kinda-
paint the door panel trim to be the outside color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about that.
Any
Yeah, that-
interior.
I just
piece?
meant like I'm thinking Japan here.
Well, there's
Bride
like
door panel.
oh yeah, the bride door, like with the fabric and the.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that they ever
I
actually.
mean, I think
offer.
that's still.
Do you
still popular.
prefer a pillar gauge or on the dash gauge? Which
Oh
is
fuck,
easier?
man! The pillar gauges. Ugh.
I've never
mean,
had a
they're
pillar
ca-
gauge, but it seems like it would be cleaner than like the on the dash one. But I've
God, I
done on
like
the
that.
dash one, so
Yeah, no, I mean they definitely work. The A-pillar gauges are pretty convenient. They always come in those stupid sizes, and they're made by Autometer though, so they're like fucking kind of shit.
There goes our Autometer sponsorship.
yeah.
I feel like Autometer could make Autometer
Autometer?
has so many gauges. They could probably just do one line of gauges that were like not American style, and
They
like
did, man. They were carbon fiber face.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess faux carbon fiber is a thing that's still around though.
Yeah.
But I mean now it's real carbon fiber.
Or hydro dip.
Like all those wraps, like yeah, I'm not a huge hydro dip fan. I think it's kind of whack. It's like the most embellishment. I'd rather just paint the fucking thing.
You
I
don't want
need it
like
to
a
look
hydro
fucking-
dipped like valve cover.
No, fuck
I
no.
would hydro dip my valve cover.
Kevin would. Zebra.
Yeah. Exactly. I would
It's
do it.
not even
zebra.
painted though. It just looks. But
But
why
I-
wouldn't you just paint it zebra? It'd look fucking way better.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I do my like turbo housing because it can withstand. You can do like shit you can't paint.
I guess. You know, fucking zebra turbo housing. That's fucking cool.
And a zebra exhaust housing on your turbo. Yeah, I'd be down with that.
Sure.
Kevin's about to zebra the
Yeah.
world.
I'm gonna have a gold plated turbo. I
Here's
made fun of Gerard for 10 years about having gold plated turbo when he's never had a gold plated turbo because I always say he's extra, but and then he always makes fun of me saying I'm way more extra than him, which is probably true.
Yeah, I mean, car build wise, you are for sure.
Yeah.
Here's actually the funny thing about all of these fads and all this the stuff. And I know it used to be called like ricey, and I think to some extent, and you can disagree with me, is that I think Kevin was onto it. We all kind of did something along those lines that was a bit like questionable, and then we refined it to a point of the execution where it became acceptable. Kevin, your Corolla was like fueled by hate. People walked by and they're like, man, why is that car like that? Your car is still kind of like in the same direction category, like the Corolla to the Altezza, but it's all executed properly. So it's like the foundation was in rice and then you
Yeah, exactly.
through
like,
it, right?
I feel like I had the Corolla. I did that car was doing the most. Like I put two bumpers on top of each other, and it had absolutely no exhaust, and like was everything was just trying to be the most ridiculous that it could be. And then I went that far, and then I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm not fully about that. I maybe going the most extreme on every single aspect isn't the best way to build a car that you actually would like to enjoy and drive. That has, shaped my future builds. And
Yeah, I've never really talked about this. My first car I took out a loan and had it like painted by an auto body shop. And then I was like, I would never do that again. Like the amount of money that I paid for it, I would never do it again.
yeah,
And then the second time I painted the car myself, and then I was like, I'll never do that
do
again.
that again.
So it was like in between, it's like buy a car,
Yeah.
like somewhat decent paint, and like that you can, and that's what. So the Aristo right now is like the accumulation of all of the fads that I was into that I think persevered, and then the lessons that I learned from like being that dude that's like kind of the what the fuck are you doing or why did you do this. Like for every good decision that's gone into the Aristo, there's probably one or two bad mistakes that I made in the past by like observing a fad that happened. Or
I would think that's almost true of everybody's current build.
except for Gerard. So like, are you the exception to the rule, Gerard? You've never done a mod to your car and now you look back and you're like, probably shouldn't have done that.
I put nitrous on a brand new car. I mean, I don't think it was I think maybe if I was trying to sell that car, it wouldn't have been a good idea, but like,
it's still fucking cool. Shut up. Say something dumb that you've done. I want you to say a fad that's come along. There's like a wave of things. And like, I'm going to say this and you're going to get mad. You putting the green flames on the Aristo, I feel like isn't as close to that doesn't feel very Gerard to me. I know that you've done it.
Like if it was finished, it would have been. I think it would have been pretty cool. But like the green flames and what you saw definitely didn't look cool at all.
On execution. Like
Gerard has never executed anything improperly. Ever.
You've never.
I mean that.
Ever.
Okay, like me letting that stay in a video.
Yeah.
Definitely a bad idea. One side green flames, like, yeah, cool.
Because even when I looked at that, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But then I knew I was like, Gerard will do something with it and it'll be good in the end. But when I saw it initially, I was like, what the fuck is Gerard doing? I've done so many dumb things. And like Kevin's talking about like filling body lines on cars. There has to be.
I think the thing with cars and me though is because it's such a like it's literally like in my blood and it's
God damn it,
part
I hate
of me.
you.
I can't like I if I'm gonna do a thing, I'm gonna like research it and make sure that I think it's cool. So I mean, if I see a fad and I'm like, oh, is that cool? Is it not cool? Maybe I just kind of never thought that some of those fads were cool. You know what I mean?
So
I never painted my interior fucking to match my outside of my car. I never did that.
There's not one thing that you've done to a car that you've regretted, like style wise.
Yeah, like I never had a wing.
God damn.
I never had. I don't know, man. I'm just trying to think of something like.
Kevin has all these things. I have all these things. And then Gerard said like cars are so in his blood that he can't execute improperly.
Because it'd look bad on me. Like I would just look like a fucking idiot. Like, and I don't really like.
But we all love cars. It's like a relative thing. Kevin loves cars in his own way, and I love cars in my own way. And Gerard, you love cars like a guy who's addicted. Like we all love this thing, and it's all relative.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if I necessarily regret it. I just wasn't really very happy with it.
Okay, go.
The brushed lips on the veil sides.
I
didn't really love
hate you so much.
Like, I don't know, man. Like,
I built a dope wheel, but I picked the wrong finish. Fuck you. I can't.
I don't know, man. Like that's the fucking best.
That's fine. I don't even care now.
That's the best thing to do. This is the best thing to do.
Like it's God damn it, Gerard.
No, it's just Gerard's never happy with this wheel choice.
Kevin, you have all your things. Like you did like the homemade lip and you filled the body line, and and I've talked about like paid to paint a car, then painted a car myself and had like a rising sun thing on the hood, and then had all these dumb stickers and all these things that are like this accumulation of knowledge that I've learned of like the do's and don'ts of building a car.
Like having a car for 2 days and stripping it everything but the front seats and the dash. Like everything under like a half dash, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dash, stock 8.6 Corolla. Like,
God damn it.
day two.
Why is Gerard the exception to the rule?
Right? Like, how can you not be living that life?
Fuck, I want to build a time machine just
I mean,
so
I
it's
stripped
so
my
bad.
Corolla too. It was like,
But do you regret it?
I mean-
Did you learn something from stripping your Corolla? And when you were like, well, I would never do that again, or you were like, this will
I mean,
come in
I probably
handy
just,
later?
I would like in hindsight, I probably wouldn't do it. It wasn't worth it much, but I mean, yeah, it was interesting.
It's not the-
It made me,
also
it made,
not the worst, but fine. So
Yes.
what we've learned today is that Kevin and I
Absolutely
are
nothing.
products of we are products of all of the things that we've done wrong. We've made good on them to some degree. Lessons learned.
Yeah.
Gerard is the one exception of people that I know that has just never done anything wrong.
no, there's
And
gotta
that
be something.
is, well, we can't think of it. So until we think of something,
Yeah, we painted
You
that
ever-
fucking Cressida like puke yellow.
Phoenix,
Yeah.
but he doesn't regret it, and it still looks neat in pictures. So until Gerard can figure out what he's ever done wrong to a car, like that style-wise, not adopting a fad, let Gerard be your guiding light for what is cool. That is, I think, the takeaway from today's episode is like, hey, I might miss the mark. Kevin less likely, but still might miss the mark. But Gerard he's going to hit a bullseye every time. And I think that is what we've learned about fads that we would keep from the 90s and 2000s.
Nice.
And that's my wrap. All right, you guys.
All right.
Thanks for
Sounds
listening to Serial Podcast 9.
Thanks for listening. Hope you liked the episode.
Thanks for listening to Serial Podcast 9.